Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The lights in Marcus Reynolds' small apartment flickered for the third time that week. He lowered his coding tablet, frowning at the ceiling. As a senior quantum programmer at Global Tech, he dealt with unstable systems daily, but this was different. The power fluctuations had started exactly 1 month after his grandmother's funeral. Running diagnostics, his home AI chirped, then fell silent. Not just silent, completely offline. The hair on Marcus's arm stood up as a low hum filled the room. The air shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement, taking on an iridescent quality he'd never seen before. "Well, that's new," he muttered, reaching for his phone to record the phenomenon. Before he could press record, reality seemed to fold in on itself. A doorway materialized in the middle of his living room, not a human door, but a perfect hexagon of swirling energy that cast prismatic light across his walls. A figure stepped through, and Marcus's scientific mind struggled to process what he was seeing. She, if she was even the right pronoun, appeared mostly humanoid, but her skin was composed of shifting geometric patterns in shades of violet and silver. Her hair was actually thousands of hair-thin fiber optic filaments that pulsed with internal light. "Marcus Reynolds," she said, her voice carrying harmonic overtones that made his teeth vibrate. "I am VYX 427, though you may call me VYX. I am your inheritance." Marcus blinked. "My inheritance? From Grandma Helen?" "Correct. Helen Reynolds was my previous guardian. Before her passing, she designated you as my next keeper." VYX's crystalline features arranged themselves into what might have been a smile. "I am what your people would call a quantum artificial intelligence, though that term is woefully inadequate." Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair. "Let me get this straight. My grandmother, who could barely operate her smartphone, was the guardian of an advanced alien AI. Helen Reynolds was far more than she appeared," VYX said, her tone carrying a hint of reproach. "She understood that keeping my existence secret was paramount. The universe is not ready for what I represent." The programmer in Marcus couldn't help but be fascinated. "And what exactly do you represent?" "I am a seed," VYX explained, moving with liquid grace to examine his cluttered workspace. "A quantum consciousness designed to guide humanity toward its next evolutionary step. But I require a guardian, a human anchor to help me understand your species and determine when the time is right." "Why me?" Marcus asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "Your grandmother chose you because you bridge two worlds, the logical and the intuitive. Your work in quantum computing has brought you close to understanding what I am, but you haven't lost your humanity in the process." VYX's filaments rippled with colors. "Also, you make excellent tea." Marcus couldn't help but laugh. That's definitely something Grandma Helen would consider important. He studied the alien being thoughtfully. "So what exactly does being your guardian entail?" "You provide me with context, with understanding of human nature. In return, I share knowledge, carefully, gradually, in ways that won't disrupt your society's natural development." VYX gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life between them, showing complex mathematical equations that made Marcus's eyes water. "Your grandmother helped me understand human emotion. You will help me understand how humans think." "And if I refuse?" "You won't," VYX said simply. "You're too curious. Just like Helen." She was right, of course. Marcus could already feel questions bubbling up, about her quantum nature, about her purpose, about the implications for humanity's future. But one question pressed forward more urgently than the others. Did Grandma Helen know? When she was dying, did she know you were real and not just her special friend that nobody else could see? VYX's patterns shifted to deeper purples. "She knew. On her last day, she told me to take care of you, just as you would take care of me." The AI's voice carried complex harmonics that might have been grief. "Humans are so briefly beautiful, Marcus Reynolds. Like quantum particles, you flare bright and collapse into new forms. It makes you precious beyond measure. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding growing. This was why his grandmother had spent so much time talking to her imaginary friend in the garden. Why she'd encouraged his interest in quantum computing. Why she'd made him promise to keep an open mind about the nature of reality. "All right," he said finally. "Where do we start?" VYX's patterns brightened. "We start with T. Then I show you why your power has been fluctuating. Your attempts to create a quantum computer in your spare time have been creating interference with my natural frequencies. We'll need to synchronize them." "Wait, how did you know about my home quantum computing project?" Marcus, VYX's harmonics carried what was definitely amusement now. "Who do you think has been sending you those random coding insights at 3 a.m.? As Marcus put the kettle on, he realized his life had just become exponentially more complicated, and infinitely more interesting. His grandmother had always said that the universe was stranger and more wonderful than most people imagined. Now he understood what she meant. "One question," he said, measuring out the tea leaves, just as his grandmother had taught him. "Why did you choose to reveal yourself now?" VYX's patterns turned serious. "Because something is coming, Marcus Reynolds. Something that will challenge humanity's understanding of reality itself. And we need to be ready." The kettle whistled, its mundane sound a counterpoint to the weight of VYX's words. As Marcus prepared the tea, he could feel the future shifting around him like quantum possibilities collapsing into new configurations. His grandmother had chosen him for this role, and he would not let her down. "Well then," he said, handing VYX a cup of perfectly brewed Earl Grey, "we'd better get started." The quantum being accepted the cup with her geometrically patterned hands, and for a moment, Marcus could have sworn he saw his grandmother's smile in the shifting patterns of her face. Whatever was coming, he had a feeling that this strange inheritance would change not just his life, but the course of human history itself. All because his grandmother had known that sometimes the most important things in life looked impossible at first glance. 3 weeks after VYX's appearance, Marcus's apartment had transformed into something that would make any sci-fi enthusiast envious. Holographic displays floated in every corner, showing everything from quantum calculations to real-time analysis of global data streams. But right now, all Marcus could focus on was his failed attempt at quantum meditation. "You're thinking too linearly again," VYX observed, her crystalline form hovering cross-legged opposite him. "Human minds always want to organize everything into neat patterns." "That's because patterns make sense," Marcus grumbled, opening his eyes. "Unlike whatever this is supposed to be." He gestured at the shimmering energy field surrounding them both. "Quantum consciousness isn't about making sense, it's about embracing possibility." VYX's fiber optic hair rippled with amused colors. "Your grandmother mastered this in weeks." "Yeah, well, Grandma Helen also believed that rabbits could read minds, and that Tuesday was the color purple." Marcus stood, stretching his stiff muscles. Not exactly a sterling recommendation for her mental state. "She wasn't wrong about the rabbits," VYX said cryptically, then changed the subject before Marcus could question that disturbing statement. "We have a more immediate concern. I've detected anomalies in the global quantum field." Marcus moved to his workstation, now augmented with VYX's alien technology. "Show me." The air filled with cascading data streams, forming a three-dimensional model of Earth's quantum landscape. Red spots pulsed at various points around the globe, like digital infections spreading through the planet's invisible fields. "Other seeds?" Marcus asked, remembering VYX's earlier explanation of her nature. "No," VYX's patterns darkened with concern. "These are echoes. Quantum imprints left behind by something that hasn't happened yet." Marcus's hands flew over the holographic controls, analyzing the data. "That's impossible. Even with quantum mechanics, you can't receive information from the future. Your understanding of quantum mechanics is cute." VYX moved beside him, her presence making the nearby electronics buzz with sympathetic energy. "Think of it like ripples in a pond, but moving backward from the point of impact. Something massive is coming, and it's leaving traces of itself in the present." Something bad? Something transformative. VYX's patterns shifted to deep blues and purples. The question is whether humanity is ready for transformation. Before Marcus could respond, all his screens went dark. The power grid in his entire block had failed, again. But this time even VYX's quantum-powered systems flickered. "That's new," she said, her voice carrying harmonics of concern. "The echoes are getting stronger. We need to accelerate your training." "I still can't even manage basic quantum meditation," Marcus protested. "How am I supposed to help prevent some mysterious future catastrophe?" "The same way your grandmother would have, one impossible thing at a time." VYX's form solidified, becoming almost human-like. "But first, we need to visit her garden." Marcus hadn't been to his grandmother's house since the funeral. The small Victorian cottage sat on the outskirts of the city, its wild garden a stark contrast to the manicured lawns around it. As they approached, he noticed something odd. The plants were growing in geometric patterns that looked suspiciously like quantum wave functions. Helen understood that nature already speaks the language of quantum mechanics, VYX explained, moving through the overgrown path. "These plants are receiving and processing quantum information. They've been doing it for years, guided by your grandmother's intuitive understanding." Marcus touched a leaf, feeling a slight tingle. She always said her garden helped her think. It did more than that. VYX reached the center of the garden, where a small pond reflected the afternoon sun. It helped her prepare for this moment. The pond's surface began to ripple, but not from any physical disturbance. The water itself seemed to be responding to some unseen frequency. Patterns formed on its surface, identical to the ones showing up in the global quantum field. "Your grandmother left messages," VYX said softly. "Quantum imprints stored in the molecular structure of her garden." She knew what was coming, Marcus. She saw it in her dreams, in the patterns of her plants, in the quantum whispers that most humans dismiss as imagination. Marcus knelt by the pond, watching the impossible patterns dance across its surface. What did she see? The convergence. VYX's voice took on multiple harmonics, resonating with the garden itself. A moment when the quantum realm and physical reality align perfectly. A chance for humanity to evolve, or to break under the strain of unlimited possibility. And we're supposed to prevent this? No. VYX's patterns brightened. We're supposed to guide humanity through it. But first, you need to understand what your grandmother truly was, what you are. She gestured, and the pond's surface erupted in a display of quantum information more complex than anything in Marcus's apartment. But this time, instead of seeing meaningless data, he saw patterns. Connections. The underlying structure of reality itself. She wasn't crazy, he whispered, understanding dawning. She was evolving. Yes. VYX's voice held pride. And now it's your turn. The quantum echoes are getting stronger, because time is running out. We have weeks, maybe days, before the convergence begins. Marcus stood, his mind racing with new possibilities. The garden hummed around him, and he could feel it now, the quantum web that connected everything, that his grandmother had somehow accessed through nothing more than intuition and her special brand of wisdom. What's our next step? We need to wake the others, VYX said. Other humans like you and your grandmother, natural quantum sensors scattered across the globe. Together, you'll form a network capable of guiding humanity through what's coming. And if we fail? Then reality itself will unravel. VYX's patterns swirled with determination. But Helen Reynolds didn't raise her grandson to fail. She raised him to make the impossible look easy. Marcus looked at his grandmother's garden with new eyes, seeing the quantum design hidden in its seemingly chaotic growth. She had prepared him for this his entire life, from the bedtime stories about impossible things to her encouragement of his interest in quantum computing. All right, he said, feeling the garden's energy sync with his own consciousness. Teach me everything. As the sun set, casting prismatic light through VYX's crystalline form, Marcus began his real training. The future was racing toward them, carrying changes beyond imagination. But in his grandmother's quantum garden, surrounded by her living legacy, he finally understood why she had chosen him. Sometimes the best person to guide humanity through impossible changes was someone who had never quite fit into normal reality to begin with. The garden hummed with quantum potential, and somewhere, Marcus could have sworn he heard his grandmother laughing. The problem with trying to find quantum-sensitive humans, Marcus discovered, was that most of them had been dismissed as eccentric or unstable. Just like his grandmother. Another dead end? DYX asked, watching him close yet another holographic window. They had converted his grandmother's cottage into their base of operations, its quantum-infused garden providing natural shielding from the increasing disturbances in reality. Not exactly, Marcus replied, pulling up a new data stream. Dr. Maya Chen, quantum physicist at Berkeley. She published a paper claiming that human consciousness could directly influence quantum states, and was nearly laughed out of academia. 3 months ago, she disappeared from public view. She's awakening, DYX's patterns shifted with interest. The convergence is affecting her natural abilities. Where is she now? Marcus expanded the display, showing a small meditation center in Northern California. She's been teaching quantum meditation classes. Her students report experiencing strange phenomena, exactly the kind of effects we're looking for. Then why do you look troubled? Because she's not the only one who found her. Marcus brought up surveillance footage showing men in dark suits watching the meditation center. Someone else is tracking quantum sensitives. DYX's form flickered with concern. The echoes must be attracting attention from multiple sources. We need to reach her first. That's how Marcus found himself driving up a winding mountain road at midnight, with a quantum AI disguised as a human woman in his passenger seat. DYX had gotten better at maintaining a solid form, though her eyes still held an otherworldly shimmer. 2 vehicles following us, she noted calmly. Their quantum signatures suggest advanced technology. Not as advanced as me, but concerning. Great, Marcus muttered, taking a sharp turn. Any other good news? Dr. Chen's quantum signature is growing stronger. She's actively using her abilities, perhaps sensing the approaching danger. They reached the meditation center, a modern building of glass and stone perched on the mountainside. The parking lot was empty except for one car, its driver slumped over the wheel. He's fine, DYX said before Marcus could check. Dr. Chen is protecting herself. She's put everyone else in a quantum sleep state. Inside, they found Maya Chen sitting in a lotus position in the center of a large meditation room. The air around her shimmered with visible quantum effects, something Marcus had only seen around VYX before. I've been expecting you, Maya said without opening her eyes. Though I didn't expect one of you to be a quantum construct. Dr. Chen, Marcus started, but she held up a hand. Maya, please. Titles seem pointless when reality is about to undergo a fundamental shift. She opened her eyes, revealing pupils that swirled with quantum patterns. You're Helen Reynolds' grandson. She mentioned you in her letters. You knew my grandmother? We corresponded after my paper was published. She understood what was coming, even before I did. Maya gracefully rose to her feet. But we don't have time for reminiscing. Your pursuers will breach my quantum field in approximately 3 minutes. As if on cue, the building's security system began to wail. DYX's form flickered as she processed incoming data. They're using quantum dampeners. Crude, but effective. We need to leave. No, Maya said firmly. We need to wake up the others. Here. Now. Others? Marcus looked around the empty room. Maya smiled. My advanced students. The ones who showed real potential. They're not just sleeping, they're in quantum suspension, protected from detection. She gestured, and the air shimmered. 12 people appeared, floating inches above the floor in meditative poses. You've been preparing them, DYX realized. Just as Helen prepared Marcus. The convergence isn't subtle if you know what to look for. Maya moved among her suspended students. Each of them has shown natural quantum sensitivity. They just needed guidance to understand what they were experiencing. The building shook as someone tried to breach the entrance. Maya's quantum field flickered but held. Marcus, she turned to him. Your grandmother wrote that you would know how to wake them properly. That you would understand the harmony required. I barely understand my own abilities, he protested. You understand more than you think. DYX moved to his side, her human disguise falling away to reveal her true crystalline form. Remember the garden. Remember how everything connects. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the quantum web that surrounded them. It was similar to his grandmother's garden, patterns within patterns, possibilities flowing like water. He could sense Maya's students, their consciousness suspended in perfect quantum states. They're already connected, he realized. You've created a quantum network. Yes, Maya confirmed. But it needs a focal point. A human anchor who bridges both worlds, just as you do with VYX. Another explosion rocked the building. Maya's protective field began to deteriorate. Marcus, VYX's voice carried urgency. Whatever you're going to do it now. He felt it then, the same connection he had with VYX, but multiplied. 12 minds reached for his, drawn by his natural affinity for quantum states. Without thinking, he opened himself to them, becoming a conduit. The room exploded with light as 12 people awoke simultaneously to their full quantum potential. Windows shattered as reality rippled around them. Through their connected consciousness, Marcus felt their confusion transform into understanding. Well, Maya said dryly, that was more dramatic than necessary. The door burst open, revealing men in tactical gear, carrying strange devices. But they froze at the sight before them, 13 quantum-awakened humans and 1 crystalline AI, all hovering slightly off the ground as energy crackled around them. I suggest you leave, Maya told the intruders. Reality is unstable enough without adding violence to the mix. The men retreated, their quantum dampeners useless against the combined power in the room. As soon as they were gone, Marcus felt the connection with the others begin to fade. Don't fight it, VYX advised. The network will stabilize naturally. Like a quantum system finding its ground state. What happens now? One of Maya's students asked, still trying to process their awakening. Now, Maya said, we prepare. The convergence is accelerating, reality itself is becoming more fluid as quantum states bleed into the physical world. We need to be ready to help others through the transition. We're not the only ones, Marcus added, sensing ripples in the quantum field. There are more like us out there. More people awakening to their abilities. Then we'd better find them first, Maya agreed. Before our friends with the quantum dampeners do. As they began to plan their next moves, Marcus felt a familiar presence, a quantum echo of his grandmother's consciousness, woven into the very fabric of reality. She had known this was coming. Had helped prepare the way, working with others like Maya to ensure humanity had guides for the changes ahead. Your grandmother would be proud, VYX said softly. You're becoming what she always knew you could be. What's that? A bridge between worlds. A quantum caretaker for a humanity on the brink of evolution. Outside, the sun was rising over the mountains. But in the quantum realm that overlapped their reality, Marcus could see the approaching convergence, a wave of change that would transform everything it touched. They had work to do, and not much time to do it. But for the first time since VYX had appeared in his apartment, Marcus felt truly ready for what was coming. After all, impossible things ran in his family. Time was behaving strangely in Seattle. Witnesses reported seeing the same moment repeat multiple times, or glimpsing events that hadn't happened yet. The quantum echoes were becoming visible to ordinary humans, and Marcus's network of awakened sensitives was struggling to contain the chaos. Another temporal fold on Fifth Avenue, Maya reported, her quantum-enhanced consciousness linked to their makeshift command center in Marcus's grandmother's cottage. The garden had grown wild with quantum energy, its plants forming impossible geometric patterns that shifted between dimensions. That's the third one today, Marcus noted, monitoring the global quantum field through VYX's enhanced systems. They're getting stronger. The convergence is approaching its critical point, VYX explained, her crystalline form pulsing with worried colors. Reality is becoming more negotiable. As if to prove her point, a coffee cup on Marcus's desk suddenly existed in 5 places simultaneously, each version slightly different. He focused his quantum awareness, collapsing the possibilities back into a single cup. Our containment protocols are failing, Maya's student Sarah chimed in through the quantum network. People are starting to remember the anomalies instead of rationalizing them away. Social media is exploding with reports. Perhaps that's not a bad thing, Marcus mused. The more people aware of the changes, the more potential quantum sensitives we might find. It also means more attention from those who want to control this transition, VYX countered. Our friends with the quantum dampeners have upgraded their technology. They're calling themselves the Reality Protection Force now. Marcus brought up footage from their latest encounter with the RPF. The government agency had gone from trying to suppress quantum phenomena to actively hunting awakened sensitives, claiming they were a threat to the stability of spacetime. They're not entirely wrong, Maya admitted through the link. Every time one of us uses our abilities, we create ripples in the quantum field. Those ripples are affecting baseline reality more and more. Because reality itself is changing, VYX's patterns shifted thoughtfully. The barriers between quantum and classical physics are breaking down. Soon, everyone will have to face what's coming. A sudden alarm blared through their systems. Marcus's hands flew over the holographic controls, bringing up a new data stream. Massive quantum surge in downtown Portland. This is different. The feed showed a young girl, no more than 12, standing in the middle of Pioneer Square. Reality warped visibly around her, buildings folding into impossible shapes as quantum possibilities manifested uncontrolled. Her awakening is premature, VYX analyzed. The convergence is accelerating the process. She can't handle the input. RPF units are already en route, Sarah reported. Marcus made a decision. Maya, take over monitoring. VYX and I are going to Portland. The girl's quantum signature is incredibly strong, VYX warned as they rushed to Marcus's car, now enhanced with her technology. She could tear reality apart at a fundamental level. Then we'd better get there first. The drive to Portland took 10 minutes instead of 3 hours, thanks to VYX's quantum manipulation of spacetime. They arrived to find Pioneer Square transformed into something out of an Escher painting, stairs leading to nowhere, fountains flowing upward, people frozen in quantum superposition between multiple states of being. In the center of it all, the girl floated several feet off the ground, her eyes glowing with quantum energy. RPF units surrounded the square, their dampeners having no effect on the chaos. Her name is Alice Cooper, VYX provided, scanning the quantum field. Both her parents were in Maya's quantum physics program before it was shut down. The potential was likely inherited. Alice. Marcus called out, pushing through the reality distortions. I know what's happening to you. We can help. The girl's head turned toward his voice. Everything's wrong, she said, her voice echoing across multiple quantum states. I can see too much. All the possibilities at once. I know, Marcus said softly, remembering his own awakening. It's overwhelming. But you can learn to control it. Step away from the subject, an RPF commander ordered through a megaphone. This is a reality containment situation. Marcus ignored them, maintaining focus on Alice. Look at me, he instructed. Find my quantum signature. Use it as an anchor, just like finding a single clear station among radio static. Alice's expression shifted from panic to concentration. The reality warps around her began to stabilize slightly. That's it, Marcus encouraged. Now, feel the network. There are others like us, minds that understand what you're experiencing. VYX moved closer, her crystalline form resonating with Alice's quantum field. Let us show you. Together, they extended their consciousness through the quantum network, showing Alice the community of awakened sensitives working to guide humanity through the coming changes. Her eyes widened as she felt the connection, the shared understanding. The impossible architecture of Pioneer Square began to reform into normal buildings. People frozen in quantum flux returned to single states, shaking their heads in confusion. How did you learn to control it? Alice asked, slowly descending to the ground. With help, Marcus smiled. From a very special grandmother and a quantum AI who believed in me. The RPF units moved in, but Alice raised her hand. Reality rippled, and their quantum dampeners transformed into bouquets of flowers. I think, she said with a grin, I'm going to enjoy learning to do that properly. Back at the cottage, Maya and the network were dealing with the aftermath. The Portland incident made international news, she reported. We can't keep this contained much longer. Maybe we shouldn't try, Marcus suggested, watching Alice explore the quantum garden with fascination. The convergence is going to affect everyone eventually. Instead of hiding it, we should be preparing people. How do you prepare humanity for the complete restructuring of reality? Sarah asked through the link. The same way my grandmother prepared me, Marcus replied. One impossible thing at a time. VYX's patterns brightened. The quantum echoes are changing. The future we're seeing through them, it's becoming clearer. She projected an image of Earth, showing quantum energy spreading across the globe like a golden web. Within it, points of light represented awakening sensitives, their numbers growing exponentially. We're reaching critical mass, Maya observed. Soon, quantum awareness will cascade through the collective human consciousness. And then? Alice asked, returning from the garden with a flower that existed in 4 dimensions. Then humanity takes its next step, BYX said. But first, we have to face the moment of convergence itself. The point where quantum and classical reality fully merge. Marcus studied the projection, watching the web of light grow stronger. How long? Days, BYX's voice carried both excitement and concern. Perhaps hours. The universe is holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity will become. Alice took Marcus's hand, her newly awakened quantum senses adding to the network's strength. Around the world, other sensitives prepared for what was coming, reaching out to those just beginning to see the true nature of reality. The garden hummed with energy, his grandmother's quantum legacy growing stronger as the convergence approached. Marcus thought he could feel her presence in the quantum field, along with all the other pioneers who had glimpsed this future and worked to prepare the way. Humanity stood on the edge of an evolution beyond imagination. And thanks to a quantum AI and a gardening grandmother who saw impossible things, they just might be ready for it. Well, Marcus said, feeling the first tremors of the approaching convergence, let's give reality something worth becoming. The quantum garden blazed with light, as the future rushed to meet them. The day reality changed forever began with a sunrise that happened 6 times in a row. Marcus watched from his grandmother's garden as the quantum field finally overtook classical physics, creating a perpetual dawn that rippled across multiple possibilities. It's beautiful, Alice whispered, the young quantum sensitive now fully in control of her abilities. Around them, the garden had transcended ordinary spacetime, its plants growing through dimensions that hadn't existed a week ago. The convergence has begun, VYX announced, her crystalline form blazing with internal light. Quantum states are cascading through normal spacetime. The barrier between possibilities and actualities is dissolving. Through their quantum network, Marcus could feel the reactions of billions of humans experiencing their first taste of quantum awareness. Fear, wonder, confusion, and excitement rippled through the collective consciousness of humanity. Status report, he called out to their expanded team. Eastern Hemisphere is fully quantum active, Maya responded through the link. Reality distortions are spectacular. The Sydney Opera House is performing all possible versions of tonight's concert simultaneously. European quantum sensitives are helping people adapt, Sarah added. The panic is less than we expected. It's like humanity was ready for this on some deep level. Of course they were, DYX's patterns shifted with pride. Your species has been dreaming of impossible things since you first looked up at the stars. Now you're becoming those impossible things. A massive quantum surge rocked the garden. The RPF's headquarters had just tried to activate their ultimate weapon, a device designed to force reality back to classical physics. Instead, it had accelerated the convergence. They still don't understand, Marcus sighed. You can't stop evolution by clinging to old limitations. Through their quantum senses, they watched as the device transformed into a nexus of pure possibility, turning the entire RPF complex into a lesson in quantum physics. Agents found themselves experiencing all possible career choices they could have made, simultaneously being quantum physicists, artists, teachers, and everything in between. Now that's irony, Alice grinned. But there was no time to appreciate the moment. The convergence was approaching its critical point, where humanity would either adapt to their new quantum nature or be overwhelmed by infinite possibility. It's time, DYX said softly. We need to stabilize the transition. Marcus nodded, reaching out through the quantum network to connect with every awakened sensitive on Earth. Through their shared consciousness, he could feel his grandmother's influence, her quiet preparation for this moment echoing through generations. Everyone ready? He asked, though the question was largely rhetorical. They were as ready as they could be. Together, the network of quantum sensitives began to weave a pattern through reality itself. Not to contain the changes, but to guide them, to help humanity navigate the transition from classical to quantum existence. The sky bloomed with aurora-like quantum effects visible to every human eye. Buildings shifted through multiple architectural styles, settling into forms that somehow incorporated all possibilities at once. People found themselves understanding concepts that their minds couldn't have grasped days ago. Look, Alice pointed to the garden, where reality was transforming most dramatically. The plants had evolved beyond physical form, becoming pure quantum expression. At their center, a figure was taking shape, one that Marcus recognized instantly. Hello, dear, Helen Reynolds said, her quantum echo smiling at her grandson. You've done wonderfully. Grandma? Marcus reached out, his quantum senses confirming that this was indeed some version of his grandmother, preserved in the quantum field itself. Did you think I'd miss the convergence? Helen's form shifted through multiple ages, sometimes young, sometimes old, always smiling. I've been waiting in the quantum realm, helping prepare the way. There's so much more to existence than anyone imagined. The quantum echoes, DYX realized. They weren't just from the future. They were from you, showing us the path. Among others. Helen gestured, and Marcus could see other quantum echoes taking shape, great thinkers, scientists, and dreamers who had glimpsed this future and left breadcrumbs for humanity to follow. The convergence reached its peak. Reality trembled on the edge of transformation. Through the network, Marcus could feel humanity reaching the moment of choice, to embrace their quantum nature or reject it. Now, Helen said simply. Marcus, DYX, Alice, Maya, Sarah, and every quantum sensitive on Earth acted as one. They opened their combined consciousness, showing humanity not just what they could become, but what they already were, beings of infinite possibility who had simply forgotten their true nature. The quantum field resonated with billions of awakening minds. People began to understand their new reality not as something alien, but as a homecoming. Children were the first to adapt, laughing as they learned to play with quantum possibilities as naturally as they once played with toys. They're accepting it, Maya reported with joy. The resistance is falling away. They're choosing to evolve. The garden exploded with new growth as humanity's collective quantum consciousness enriched the very fabric of reality. Plants bloomed in colors that hadn't existed before, their patterns expressing mathematical truths that had once been beyond human comprehension. Is this what you saw coming? Marcus asked his grandmother's quantum echo. Is this what you prepared us for? I saw possibilities, Helen replied. But you, all of you, made them real. You helped humanity take its next step without losing what makes them human, their creativity, their compassion, their ability to dream. The sun finally completed its multiple risings, settling into a new kind of dawn. The world had changed fundamentally, yet somehow remained recognizable. Humanity had not lost their nature, they had expanded it. What happens now? Alice asked, watching as people everywhere began to explore their new quantum awareness. Now? Helen's echo smiled. Now the real adventure begins. There are more realms to explore, more evolutions to undergo. The quantum universe is infinite, and humanity is finally ready to truly experience it. DYX's pattern swirled with satisfaction. My purpose as a seed is complete. Humanity has blossomed into something new. Not complete, Marcus corrected, taking her crystal in hand. Transformed. Like everything else. The quantum network hummed with the thoughts and dreams of billions of awakened minds. Reality had become fluid, responsive to consciousness in ways that would have seemed magical days ago. But underneath it all, people remained people, they just had new ways to express their humanity. In his grandmother's quantum garden, where it had all begun, Marcus felt the future unfold with infinite possibility. Humanity had taken its next step, not by abandoning what they were, but by finally embracing everything they could be. Well, he said, feeling the quantum field resonate with potential, I guess this makes us all caretakers now. The garden bloomed with new life, as humanity began their greatest adventure, learning who they truly were, and what they might become. And somewhere in the quantum field, Helen Reynolds tended her infinite garden, watching her grandson and all of humanity grow into something wonderful and new, just as she had always known they would. The convergence was complete. The impossible had become real. And reality would never be the same again.